This video is intended for viewers aged 13 and up. If you are not 13 yet, please leave. Before we combine them, let's look at the CCon TT-GS10 group as a group. And honestly, like I said, as a group, they're really cool together. I like the way that the colors kind of are cohesive, with the white being the main thing that ties them all together, all of them having at least a little bit of that kind of white. The biggest outlier here is definitely Scylla, but I guess it kind of makes sense. She's the girl of the group. She's already the outlier, as all these are dudes. You know? She's already kind of different already, so I like the way that she kind of differentiates herself from the rest of them. You know? But yeah, as a group, they still look very nice with each other, while still having their own different elements. They all very well highlight what makes them good as a group, you know? Whether it be through colors or design motifs or whatever, you know? I think they just work very well as a group in Beast Mode together, even though these are my least favorite of the modes. And it's kind of unfortunate that this is my least favorite of the modes that he has, because this is the mode that they're probably going to be left in the most often, as with Super God Master Force, they were only in their beast modes. And then in this, they were more often in their beast modes than in their robot modes, so what you gonna do? Then once again, as a crew, in robot mode, they are super cohesive. Each of their individual transformations have similar elements. That's kind of the name of the game of Power of the Primes, having a lot of similar elements and using them in new ways. Or most of the time just using the same elements in the same way. But these guys are able to break that mold somewhat. Only one of these guys, in their stock transformation from Beast Mode to Robot Mode, actually uses the Power of the Prime Wars Trilogy transforming leg system, where you unhinge it, open it up. That would be him. He does have it, but he doesn't use it in his base transformation. He only uses it if you transform him into leg mode, which we will not be doing here, because I'm only going to be transforming him into his stock configuration. That's just how it do be, baby. But yeah, they all have unique and interesting transformations that allow them to differentiate themselves from each other. And yeah, I just think that's very smart, especially him, as he is the torso bot. Now, going into the looks in robot mode, once again, they are super cohesive. They have similar elements to each of them, which allow them to work well as a team, but they use each interesting motif in a different way, you know? With one similar element being their backpacks, being like animal heads most of the time. Most of the time. You know? But, yeah, they're able to use their motifs in very interesting different ways that I just really appreciate. It allows them to look as if they are a team who are made up of similar elements, but allows them to be different characters in their own right, allowing them to feel like their own people. But yeah, I think that's just really cool. And I think this set is really worth it as a team if you are going to leave them like this. This is my favorite configuration of them as a team together, but we all know why we're here. We all know why you're watching this video if you're watching individually. You want to see them combine. So why not? Let's have them combine. So yes, once again, we are starting with the legs. So for him, what you're going to do is open up this panel to start off with. Open up that panel, have it folded down, fold down the head, and fold down this ring that's around the head. And then what you're going to do is fold it up like so. Yeah. From there, for your arms, you're going to take it, fold the hand back in, have it go bend like this, and then plug it into the into his side, like so. And you're going to do that with both of his arms, like so. And yeah. From there, you're going to take the wings and plug them into some tabs that showed up on the arms. Fold them in, plug them in, and boom, you got most of your transformation done. From there, you're going to take your legs and transform them as you would if you're trying to get them back accordion them back in as if you're trying to get them back into beast mode. But once again, you've already shifted it. However, you're not going to want to fold down the tail. You're going to want to combine it and leave it as it is, you know? And I'm going to pan down for this final bit of the transformation. You're going to take one of the feet that came with half shell, make sure that the guns are folded out. I'm going to put that down for a second. And take the hand that came with him, make sure that this leg is going to go on... you know, I'm going to... From there, you want to take your foot, which hopefully should be folded out in its leg configuration. Take the hand he comes with, make sure that the thumb is folded out like that. Plug those in together. Look at the 5mm port and plug it into the slot. Go to his back. Fold out the combiner port, make sure it goes all the way up, and boom. There you have that leg. And let's move that to the back for a second. Yeah, these fall out. We'll get more into that later on in the video. Next up, it's time for the other leg bot, Scylla. So what you're going to want to do is, I like to start by folding the head back into the torso. We'll mess with the head, or the arms later. But first, you may want to put them back into beast configuration, like so. There we go. From there, you want to fold these bits of the legs back up into beast mode configuration and plug them together. So you're basically going back into beast mode for the legs until... let's just leave that there for now, but yeah, we're going to have a bit of a twist. Moving on to the back, we're going to unfold this and swivel this whole contraption back around so that it's like this, you know? Once you have her all looking like this, you're going to take this port and flip it out. That's your leg combiner port. She has a different one for her arm configuration, which is right there. But we're using the leg one. From there, you're going to fold her legs back like this using her double joint. And you're going to want to kind of just mash it kind of together until it fits together. It's a bit fiddly and kind of trial and error-y, but you'll get there eventually. Just, there we go, and then yeah, just that kind of locks it into place, but it's a bit fiddly. From there, I like to move the arms up so that we can move the legs into place, so that we can fold the arms down and plug this tab into that port, like so, to kind of keep the upper body a bit together, I guess. So just kind of plug those in there. Do the same on the other side, and yeah, you got most of your leg mode down pat from there. From there, let's mix it up a bit by pulling out the combiner port right here, right now. Let me do that off screen actually real quick. Give me a sec. Okay, I'm going to mention this right now because I forgot to. You're going to fold these in a very particular way so that there are some slots in the back of the feet, leg thing that plug into some slots there in the back of her leg that I found out about. So yeah, just make sure you do that so that her leg mode can stay relatively cohesive. But yeah, once you get the combiner port out, you're going to want to do the same foot thing that you did before. Once again, take one of the feet and the hand she comes with, make sure that the thumb is pointed outward in relative to which direction she'll be going. Combine the feet, put the foot onto the leg port, and boom. There we have Scylla done as a leg. Most people would have you do the torso next, but for dramatic effect, we are going in with Gulf, one of the arms, real quick, because I want to do the limb bots, and then we are going to go into the mother freaking torso for the combiner. For him, it is relatively simple. You're going to want to swivel that head around and then pull out the combiner port. But in order to do that, you're going to have to slightly maneuver this so that this ends up in the same spot, but these are downwards, so that you actually have room for the arm to maneuver around. From there, you're going to flip the hands back into the arms so that you can't see the hands. You could use them for storage later on. And then I guess you just kind of rest them in these slots. You know, they don't really wobble around much, but I guess you just kind of put them down. You know, just kind of lay them down on the side of his arms. What most promotional images have you do is just have it be like that, and yeah. Hopefully, I'm not sure if there's something that's supposed to slide in, but this is what promotional images show. From there, you plug the legs in together like you did before on the beast mode. Nice and strong. There we go. And then you're going to want to swivel it around so that this bit is on the outside so that you get the full range of motion for the articulation for the arm. From there, you take a hand, make sure that the thumb is going out this way because this is going to be this arm. Plug it into the slot. This is the best hand. Yeah. And then put it to the side so that we can get to the next arm. His transformation is pretty similar to the last one. You're going to want to swivel the head around and pull the combiner board out all the way, well, halfway at least. You're going to make sure that, yeah, pull out the combiner board like that, and then make sure the head's somewhat put in. From there you just kind of have the arms just kind of swivel around like this, and then you plug them in to these ports on the side. Just kind of port them in, and boom, you have his arms. From there with the legs, you want to combine them, and I've seen other people have an issue where this actively wants to come apart. I've found that mine is relatively tight though. And yeah, you just combine them like so, but you don't do the Combiner Wars combiner leg thingy. You're just going to want to swivel it around so that it's like this, since this is going to be the right arm. Yeah, right arm. This is going to be his right arm, you know? From there, once again, take a hand, put it in to the combiner slot, and boobity 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 doobity doo. Haha. Boom, you got your other arm. Now, finally, let's move on to the torso. I mean, we're going to do the weapons after this, but for the main combiner, this is the final bit. For him, you're going to want to take off all these extra bits right here, right now. Because, yeah, why not? We're going to be going backwards into turtle mode. I'm just starting with robot mode because this is where we left off last video. But yeah, you're going to want to put the head back where it came from. Back into his butthole. Make sure that it's swiveled around like this so that you don't see the face coming out of his butt, you know? And from here you can already see the head trying to get out. With the arms, what you're going to want to do is lock them in place with those previously mentioned tabs. You're going to take the foot, fold it like that, and then fold it up like this, you know? So that it is at the back, you know? And like, yeah. And yeah, fold up for both arms. And then from there, you're just going to want to simply fold it around like so, and then swivel it around into the turtle formation. However, you're not going to want to bend it back down. From there, I like to untab this because this is going to be going back into turtle mode configuration because we got to put the legs also back into turtle mode configuration. So you're going to fold it down, fold these bits out, fold the foot back in, and then, yep, but you're going to leave those open so that we have room for the head. So yeah, do it back into combiner mode configuration, put the foot back, leave these out, use the double knee to bend it around and put it back into the peg that we had before. You shouldn't have this pegged in because what we're going to want to do is use this tab to pull around his magnificent head, in which you're going to want to move those out or leave them in for dramatic effect and swivel his head around for dramatic effect. I know I like dramatic effect. That's kind of my gimmick. And from there, you're going to take this and pull it up and then plug that in there, like so. From there, you're going to pull this back up, as previously seen, and while also pulling this down. It'll make sense later. And then put these back into their place from the turtle mode. It's a bit tricky. There we go. There we freaking go. From there, now we're going to want to do this in whatever. So these are going to have to be in robot mode configuration, actually. Yeah, these ports are going to have to be in robot mode configuration, so you can put the cannons on his back. So you slip the cannons onto his back, and then instead of pulling it up, pulling the limb apart, pulling the torso apart, you're going to want to pull these out. Give me a sec. So yeah, you're going to want to take the cannons and pull them out. They're a bit tight in there, but you just pull them out so that they are fully visible in the combined mode. Then from there, you take your shield, which should hopefully be in its robot mode configuration, and plug it into that port that we previously folded down. And boom, there you have your torso. We will swivel the head around for dramatic effect later on. For the combined mode, gun, an official combined mode isn't really necessary. I just like to kind of put you there. I mean, you can just look at the stock photos, I guess. And then I guess you could plug that in, like, I don't know. This is the most... Shoot! But that's honestly the most annoying part of this one, because it doesn't really have enough ports. Yeah, you just kind of slap things where they need to be, I guess. You know? And, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Let's just try to make something here. You know, I'm a Lego man. I build bionicles. I build robot crap. This should be my expertise, but I guess it isn't. This should be what I'm good at. This is what I'm good at. I like making mocks. This is what I should be an expert at making crappy weapons. Let's put these. I hate that one. I hate that one. Let's just put these here. Let's just slap those there. This is a really long gun. Just slap those there. Sure. Zooey mama. Man, I don't know. Sure. Let's put that back there. Sure. And boom, combined gun. Yay! It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to use it anyways. Now let's move the camera upwards so that we can do a full combine. Combine. Okay. Hin. Shin. Fully combined God Neptune! And if you're getting this set for anything, it's this. So you can get the fully combined God Neptune King Poseidon experience all in one box. And this is, honestly, it's beautiful. This is definitely how I'll be displaying him in my Beast Wars display once I start setting it up this year. But, yeah. It's definitely something I have to stand up for because I am exhausted. But yeah, let's get more in depth with this guy. Starting off with the head sculpt. Man, do I love it. I think it's just a great little head. I mean, it could have gone for being bigger. I get the limitations, though. This feels pretty proportional. I do like the size of the head as it is right now, but if you're going for original version accuracy, which this one definitely isn't, honestly. You look at the original version and like that arm is like flipped downward. It's a whole thing. He kind of wears this as a helmet, so I would have been fine if it was a parts-wearing piece, but thankfully they did it all in one, allowing it to be just fully done right then and there. Sorry, just scratching my back. But yeah, more than that, I love the way that the colors are broken up. I love like the way that the eyes kind of have like a tealish bluish eyeshadow, you know? I love the bit of gold here. I love the way that the fins are broken up. I love that they choose the white, but since it's big enough, there's enough detail there for it to be pretty well picked out, you know? I just think it's very nicely done, very well done, you know? Good job, Takara. Moving on to the torso, this is all half shell doing the work here. I think it looks pretty good. And this is honestly very impressive. Most of the teal is only here and in the hands and legs. However, it takes over as one of the main colors you take away from this, even though it's basically just highlights since it's only on him and highlighted on a couple of the other figures. It's super impressive how well they were able to just, oh yeah, let's put the teal only on him, but just have it take over the look of this figure. And that's not a bad thing. It takes it over in a good way. I just think it's freaking beautiful the way it's done. Moving on to the arms, we're doing them individually since the arms are different and the legs are different. The shark arm. It's Sea Phantom. It's got very similar detailing to Sea Phantom, and I'm going to tell you this. On my copy, those don't split apart very easily. I've seen in other reviewers that those do split apart very easily. I think that's a QC thing, where some of the nubs on those get mangled. I'm pretty sure in Dr. Lockdown's review of the original set, his were also super mangled. So I think that's a QC thing. And that's honestly a really bad QC thing to get. If you got that on your copy, let me know in the comments below, okay? But yeah, I love the way that the head kind of comes out, and I am kind of a fan of the way the shark claws and the way those kind of look like a thing. But honestly, that's honestly the weaker arm in comparison to the Koala gun arm. I think this is just a better shoulder pad, you know? I do like how both of these act as shoulder pads, but yeah. I also do enjoy the way that the arm is laid out here a little bit better. I think it's a bit more cohesive, if that makes sense, and there isn't really like a hand sticking out as there was on the other arm. But yeah, but it does have very similar positives. Its real negative comes when we get to the articulation, in which it has a hard time holding poses, but yeah. Moving on to the legs, these look good as upper legs. It's a bit small, honestly, proportionally, especially compared to the lower legs. I could see someone making an upgrade kit where you just slip something on there. I'm pretty sure someone's already doing that for the King Poseidon version, and please repaint it for the God Neptune. Please, please, please! But yeah, I really like the way that the brilliant colors kind of take over the upper legs, and in unison with the feet, which have some very nice gold painted claws there, it just takes it over for both legs. Starting with Terramander, his leg mode's alright. It's fine. It kind of pokes out a little bit forward and thus makes everything else seem a bit flat by comparison. But it's fine. I like the gold on it. I really like how the gold kind of takes over there at the lower bit of the lower leg. But yeah, it was fine. However, you'll find the better leg comes from Scylla. She's a bit wibbly-wobbly to get together, but once you get her together, she is relatively solid. And I do really like how the face just kind of is there, and it works as a lower leg. It feels like a good combining robot from like my childhood, where you just slap robots together and it somehow really works because they have good designers, you know? But yeah, you can tell I'm gushing a bit, but yeah, I do really like how cohesive it is, especially with the way that the green just kind of works. I'm going to mention the backside all at once because it looks fine. It's a fine back end, minimal kibble. I like that. However, we get to the hand feet. So those are obviously the back of his hands and his feet. However, I wish they were more secure because when you're moving them forward, they have a tendency, or like moving them around, they have a tendency to fall out, and they don't really do well as supports anyways, you know? They just kind of sit there. A lot of the time they are off the ground because all the weight is being put on the front of the feet. Which, that's really my big gripe. Those feet are annoying. I feel like they could have been more stable. And once again, tolerance issues. Tolerance issues, for me, is this set's bane, but I think that's more of a QC thing than anything. Also, I wish that Predacon symbol that's there on his back, purely from the head, was somewhere on his front. I wish he had a Predacon symbol. I don't think it's accurate, but I do wish he had a Predacon symbol somewhere other than his back. But, yeah. Honestly, my complaints are honestly pretty minimal. He is one of the better combiners out there. Not the best combiner from what I can tell, but he is my first combiner, and I think he's got a pretty good taste of the Combiner Wars combiner system. However, as I promised in all the Limbot reviews, let's talk about the hands. I popped off Sea Phantoms because it's honestly one of the easier ones to just kind of pop off, and these hands are amazing. From what I've seen, the hand-foot guns are crap. The other hands that other figures have included are fine, but not really great. But these hands are stellar. My only complaint is that this bit is the thumb's a bit floppy, which is unfortunate as it is where you typically hold the sword. You can see I've got a different solution for it there, which I will explain to you later on, but, or probably while I'm explaining the hand, but yeah. This hand is nice and big and meaty, but not too big for it to look goofy. It's got some amazing sculpting, and it feels nice and extremely proportionate. Only Takara could have done this. Of course Takara did it. What? Of course Takara gave us the best combiner hands in the Combiner Wars era business, you know? And it's got nice articulation, allowing you to do whatever the heck you would want with a giant freaking hand, which we'll get more into the articulation when we get to the articulation. But, yeah, and then it ports relatively easy. Sometimes a bit too easily. I found that their ports, at least on my copy, can be a bit loose. But, yeah. You also may have noticed that I have the sword in wrong. Typically, you are supposed to hold the sword like this, but I found that it easily comes untabbed, which doesn't really help it a lot. So what I've found is helpful is utilizing this conveniently placed 5mm peg into one of these two conveniently placed 5mm ports. I like to just plug it into the hand, wrap his hand around it, and boom. And you saw he almost fell because the hands came unpegged there at the back of the feet. Oh no. But yeah. Yeah, I like to hold that in. It's a lot more secure. But yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to balance them out because that's really this combiner's big issue, which from what I can tell is probably an issue with all combiners. So yeah, as you can tell, he is a bit awkwardly balanced. He's very heavy, and that's kind of an issue for certain limbs. Like, I'll mention it here. In King Poseidon set, he has a sixth member, which you're supposed to use as a gun. The way that works is you port it into the prime, the power of the prime hand port thing that each of these guys has. You put the combiner port in there, and wham bam in the van, you got the guy's a gun. The problem comes in which the normal as heck, just normal legs, these are just normal legs. Normal friction legs aren't strong enough to hold another combiner limb up. That's an issue with King Poseidon. However, don't let that stop you from getting this set because it's not an issue with this set. Why? Because it doesn't have a sixth member. It's a very simple solution. Since he doesn't have a sixth member, he doesn't have to worry about the gimmick of him just being a Target Master for some reason, because he came out alongside the Target Masters. They had to make him a Target Master, and as such, that kind of screwed him up here, you know? Sorry. There we go, yeah. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about him not being unable to hold his gun, because he's not a Target Master, you know? However, now we're going to get into accessories. I'll go into the sword more in depth later, but there's just kind of a mishmash of guns. I don't really like this. You can also just kind of store the guns wherever the heck you want. No one's stopping you from doing that. But yeah, I guess it's a mediocre use of all the guns that he comes with. It's fine, just combine it however you want. Whatever looks aesthetically pleasing to you. I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care what you do with it. However then, we get to come to the Stellar Sword, which, once again, I previously mentioned how I like to port them in, but oh my gosh, let me just combine this properly so you can take a nice good look at it. This is a beautiful sword. It looks like they started with this mode and then slowly tore it apart, but I think that really worked out for it, because the individual weapons still work as nice individual weapons. Let me zoom in here. But it works well on its own too. You know? This is the best combining weapon I have ever seen from basically any company. I think it's just beautiful. However, one problem people have brought up is that it's a bit short to be a trident. It's very short. Yes, I'll give you that. However, once again, in this version, it's negated, because this is meant to be a sword, apparently. This is a sword in the original Beast Wars 2nd, so you can just say, oh yeah, it's a sword. It's fine if it's relatively short, because it's a sword, and you can have short swords, you know? You know? All I know is that he's not compensating for anything, if you know what I'm saying. And yeah. The sword does have a bit of a hard time being held by the elbows, but it's honestly a lot better than what I've seen from the Target Master system. And what can I say? It just fits him so well to have a trident-esque sword. I think it's just a super smart decision. However, now that means we get into articulation, now that we've gotten done with the accessories. My biggest problem with him is that his articulation is a bit loose. It's a bit hard for him to stand up, but I think that's an issue with all combiners from what I've seen. But all in all, his articulation is very good for something so big and is combined out of 5 figures. I don't have many combiners. My best source of combiners is Power Rangers, so this is the most posable combiner I have ever had. So let's get into all that. To start off his articulation, let's start off with his head. Let's go. Sorry the audio's a bit echoey. I've got to stand up, and I don't have really good audio stuff, but yeah. To start off, his head is on a swivel. It's a perfectly fine swivel. I wish it was a bit further back on his head, but it's not really that noticeable. It's fine. It gets you enough as you would want. I kind of wish you could look down a bit better, though. And I guess you could probably use that panel, but it doesn't really hold up. Now time to start Shark Arm. For the Shark Arm, he's got a ratchet that allows him to go up that far, you know? And then, yeah. Moving down on Shark Arm, he has a bicep swivel. This is really surprising, but they were able to implement and use the waist swivel and have it act double as a bicep swivel. It gives them 2 points of articulation that they wouldn't have had if they hadn't implemented the waist swivel, which, that's so smart, you know? Moving on to the rest of the elbow. Since it is the legs and the knees, it does have a double bend, but it's only able to go a little over 90 degrees. That's just because he's got a very bulky upper shoulder, you know? Then finally moving on to the hands. The hands are the same on both sides, so I'm going to cover it here. There's a hinge joint here that allows the thumb to go up and down, and each finger is an individually articulated hinge, allowing him to do whatever the heck you want. He can be obscene. He can be in a band. He can do whatever the heck you want. And I think that's just a very cool, very smart decision for someone this big to have really nicely articulated hands to allow him to be even more expressive. You know? I just think that's a very smart decision. Moving on to the other arm, it's pretty similarly articulated. It's got the ratchets all the way around, as is expected, and it's able to move out. He's a bit more limited for some reason, as I think his head is getting in the way. I think you should swivel around his head the other way, maybe. That might be able to help. Let me check something. I'm going to swivel his head around. So yeah, I moved his head a bit, and let's see. Yeah, it's able to get more range. However, with this joint, I've found that it is obscenely loose. I don't know why, it just kind of sags a bit easier, so just be careful with it. And then, yeah, same elbow, same hand, yeah. It's a bit loose when holding the sword. It has a hard time holding the sword up sometimes, but it's fine. Just be careful with it, alright? Just be careful with it. Zoom out here a bit for this bit of articulation, because hips have the same articulation as was on Turtler's arms, where they're able to hinge forward and back a bit, and yeah, yeah, same articulation there. Let me put the foot back on. And yeah, same articulation. However, his legs do have a double swivel, one using his mushroom peg, and one here, I guess. That's more tight of a swivel, thanks to the way that this works. However, his knees are able to get 90 degrees thanks to the way that the shoulder joints work, since they do use the same joints, you know? And, yeah. Finally, moving down to the feet, they're able to swivel. They're also able to, I'm going to take the foot off and lay him down to show you the full range of articulation, because it's kind of hard, because he's kind of standing on it. So yeah, looking at the feet, he's also able to have a ratcheted ankle pivot, which is very greatly appreciated. And he's also able to rock forward and back a bit on a very tight joint. That's honestly a bit too tight, because it'll pop off before it actually goes forward or back. So yeah, let's get that back on him, and let's get him standing back up. His articulation is fine, not groundbreaking, and honestly, it's kind of a bit floppy in places, but it's a lot more than I ever expected for a combiner, and besides, he still cuts an intimidating pose by just standing there due to his massive height and presence, you know? It's freaking insane that he's just so big, but he's able to have so much articulation. It's not the most effective articulation, but it still works super well. And now that we're done with that, now we get to move on to size comparisons. And this is why you get an extending ruler, kids. So yeah. standing to the top of the head, he ends up being about, I'd say about a foot tall, which is pretty massive, all things considered, considering what Generations usually pulls out for its stops. And to compare him to other figures, here we have the Marvel Legends Iron Man Mark 7, the Black Series IG-11, Voyager and Leader Prime to help cut down on time, mother freaking Skylinks, and this is really stressing the lengths of the size of my recording space, like goodness gracious. A couple of fellow Predacons, including the previous review, Waspinator, who there might be some Kingdom coverage on the way, I don't know. And yes, even MMC Coulter gets to join in on the size comparison fun today. So yeah, is this figure perfect? Far from it. He has a lot of wibbly joints. He, as a set, there are a lot of tolerance issues, especially. Some of the colors are a bit off. Some of the joints are a bit ratchety and a bit annoying. Some of them are a bit loose. Some of them are a bit tight. Some of his proportions are a bit off, in all honesty, but, yeah. But do I like him? A hell of a lot, yeah. And I guess I gotta convince you to buy this rather than the King Poseidon one. For one, it's cheaper because it's 5 figures rather than 6. I can say that much, but also, I guess it really comes down to character here, you know? There's a lot of character to this set, either way, that I really like. All of his quirks just adds to his character, makes all the good stuff shine even further. The hands, the whatever, the everything. And honestly, they're better. I feel like their colors are better than that of King Poseidon. I said. In the same way that they are better than their G1 counterparts. Because in G1, in the American comics, they died in 3 issues. They existed for 3 issues, and then they were killed off in the American comics. They probably existed a bit more in the UK comics, but that's because the UK comics detail everyone. In Japan, the original team from G1, the only one with any personality was Turtler. Everyone else was a generic army builder clone. However, we get to these guys. Yes, they're more obscure. Yes, they're a bit weird. Yes, they're basically just a repaint. But they're able to take out any of the flaws in their original characters and give them character. They are a great team. They're great buddies. They love each other. They're friends. They care about each other. But they're also a great comedic quintuplet team or whatever. They're just great together. They have actual personality. They bounce off of each other. It's amazing. But nobody's going to care because they only care about the G1 because they grew up with the G1. Well, you know what? Screw G1. Beast Wars is better anyways. And Beast Wars 2nd, who knows? But yeah, Beast Wars is better than G1 anyways. There's so much stuff that's better than G1, but we keep clinging on to G1 because it's what we recognize. But you know what? Screw G1. There will be G1 reviews this year. I already have to. I'm already obliged to because of the charity stream. However, this year, my purchases are going to be focused on getting the Beast Wars cast from Kingdom. But yeah, I like good characters, and the original Seacons weren't good characters, but these guys are, so I'm really happy to have a good representation of them. Yeah, next time, I'm gonna help hold that promise I just made. By using the next 4 reviews to work through the deluxe class figures that I just got in from Transformers, War for Cybertron, Kingdom. Kingdom coverage, baby. I'll see you all in the next review. Thank you for getting me through 25 reviews. And I hope for, heck, at least 75 more. I want to get to 100. I want to get to 100, guys. I'll see you all in the next review. Bye-bye. Oh yes, let's start off his articulation with his head. Sorry, the audio's a bit echoey. Ah, jeebus. Cut.